Good afternoon, everyone. Princess Etch here. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've gotten a fair amount of requests lately to do not only a live Etch-a-Sketch drawing where I show me working in real time, but also where I talk throughout the video. And I've also been receiving many requests to Etch-a-Sketch something from Among Us, which I am happy to oblige today. So today's Etch-a-Sketch is going to be pretty simple. I don't anticipate that it will take more than a few minutes. And I'm Etch-a-Sketching, as you might already be able to tell, a crewmate. So one of the nice things about rendering something simple like this is that there's kind of a lot of room for error. It's a really good beginner thing to render on an Etch-a-Sketch, so those of you who may not feel very confident yet in your Etch-a-skills, you might want to try to tackle this. You can even follow along with me if you have an Etch-a-Sketch of your own at home. So the crewmates are a bit curvaceous, but you don't have to use curves if you don't want to. And for those not familiar with an Etch-a-Sketch, the left knob goes left and right, while the right knob goes up and down. So when you turn both simultaneously, you're able to accomplish these diagonals and curves. I might make it look a bit effortless, but it did take me a long time to get to this point of my comfort level. So usually when I start a rendition, I kind of get a feel for where I want to begin and kind of build from there. And the crewmates are such a nice thing to draw in an Etch-a-Sketch because they're so simple. It's kind of like drawing the Powerpuff Girls. There's like no pressure. You don't have to get it perfect. They're simple. They're easily recognizable. I actually have never played Among Us, but I have watched many a live stream. I caught the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the live stream she did recently. I don't know why I said Ortez. I meant to say Cortez. I'm a failure to politics, people. I caught her live stream, though, while it was on Twitch, and it was fantastic. She definitely seemed pretty sus when she was the imposter. Apologies if the lighting is changing throughout the video. I actually prefer to shoot with natural lighting because it best showcases the gray screen. I've used other video setups before, but nothing really beats using natural light as an artist. So I'm rounding this one off right now. Definitely have the form laid out. Nice and simple. You'll notice that I'm going over the lines pretty frequently, and that's because there's a thick outline around the design of the crewmates, as you can see here. So that requires me to go over many times to accomplish that darkness that I'm looking for. And I'm finishing up the design with this simple little backpack here. I'm sure there's many little trinkets and doodads which help to accomplish all of your important tasks on your mission. There we go. So now that you have the line work laid out, which I argue is possibly the most difficult part of an Etch-a-Sketch drawing, now you get to do the shading. So I'm looking at this rendition, I'm looking at a reference photo of a crewmate, and I see that there is very specific kind of blocky regions that I can fill in with different kinds of shading. And for me personally, this is where I have the most fun. I get to be creative in how I register different variations of gray. So I'm marking where the shading is going to occur, like so. There we go. And now I can get to work. So for this one, I'm going to use a classic shading technique, which is parallel lines. So it's pretty basic. What I'll do here is just a series of rather widely separated parallel lines like so. And then you'll notice for the next part of this that I'm going to make them tighter. So to register a darker variant, I'm going to make closer parallel lines, and you'll see how it registers as like a darker shade of gray. And that's my goal. So I'm gonna make these more compacted, like so. This is one of those things, especially the shading part, it becomes very second nature very quickly. So, very basic. Now every Etch-a-Sketch is different, so you might find that your Etch-a-Sketch has lighter lines, or maybe the lines are even thicker than mine, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I find that sometimes you can pick the right canvas for the right job. So we've got the shading done for the body, and now let's complete the helmet. And I will continue that shading technique up here. Just very spaced out parallel lines for the lighter regions, and then more tightly for the darker regions. You'll notice after I did the shading that the line art I did kind of got lost. So what I like to do as a final step in the drawing process is to bring back those darks. So you'll see that I'm going over this again and again. And apologies if the video is shaking just a little bit. I don't have the best current setup, but sometimes, you know, it just gets the job done. So this is the last step in the process, where I just bring it all back together. I think this is kind of where the magic happens in an Etch-a-Sketch drawing, where you could really see it all coming together in the end. This really gives it that polished look that I'm always going for. Works really excellently, especially with cartoon characters. I love rendering cartoon characters in anime, and one of the hallmarks, especially of American cartoon characters, are these thick outlines, which are really helpful in forgiving. Say you do a drawing and you're not exactly like sold on the proportions. Well, this is kind of a forgiving way to be a little less precise than you need to, because you could sort of course correct at this point in the drawing. I can only only highlight the regions that I really want to darken up and that I feel like are more correct. So it's a good way to sort of fix your mistakes. I'm often asked, is there a way to fix your mistakes on an Etch-a-Sketch? And this is sort of the kind of yes answer. But if the mistake is particularly bad, I will completely start over, try to make those mistakes really early in the drawing for that reason. So that's one reason why I always encourage newer Etch-a-Sketch artists to try to tackle the most difficult part of the rendition first. So that way you're not a few hours into a drawing and having to really let go of something that you were previously proud of. So, yeah. Here we go. This is what a crewmate looks like on an Etch-a-Sketch. Let's move that stylus down right here. There we go. Now it's a bit out of the way. And I'm actually going to show you another crewmate that I Etch-a-Sketched. So one moment. I taped this down. But yeah, I wanted to show how things can look differently on a different Etch-a-Sketch. So we've got this one here. And you'll notice that for this one, I tried a different technique where I call them little squigglies. And yeah, there's many different ways to accomplish different kinds of shading. So, whoop, wait a minute. What just happened? That's, oh, oh no. Well, okay, I guess they weren't a crewmate. Thanks a bunch for watching.